Alright, I'm going to talk about a couple of products I purchased recently. Viper Darts GLD products, Mahogany frame darts backboard, and Razorback dartboard. I received both 5-6 days ago, and just going to give some initial first impressions. Pretend like you didn't see that 29. I'd just been using a piece of old wall, wall covering as a backboard, and I noticed this backboard on Amazon for $54 Canadian. On Amazon, it looks like, as the English might say, a nice piece of kit, but while it do look nice, it does have some failings. So, firstly, the board comes, the backboard that is, comes in just these two hooks on the top. That's all it's hanging by. So right off the bat, that makes me a little bit concerned. Of course, the backboard is not too heavy, but the dartboard, of course, is heavy, and as I said, it makes me a little bit concerned for how it might last. Seems fine so far, but if you were to put too much force, maybe pulling at your darts, could have dangerous implications. Of course, the worst part about having playing and tapping is difficult. Worst part about having just those two hooks, there's nothing on the bottom. So if you're pulling your darts out, if they're in hard at all and you pull them out, you can lift. Of course, it didn't happen then, but the entire backboard and dartboard can just lift right off the wall. So that's, to me, not desirable. As I've broken in the dartboard a little bit more, the darts are coming out a little bit more freely. One good thing about it is that, of course, as you can tell, the darts are very quiet. It'd be no trouble to play with, somebody sleeping in, maybe even the same room, but definitely another room that would not disturb anybody, so that's a plus. The felt back looks nice, but it isn't really well thought out. This is all, the inside part of the frame here is all felt. It feels nice, it looks nice, but it offers almost no grip for the feet of the dartboard to stick to. So if you had a dart and you happen to put too much pressure, see, that's way too easy. And these are pushed in, they're screwed in very tightly to the wall, so I find that to be a pretty big issue, really. If you're careful, it's fine, but you shouldn't have to be careful all the time. Looks good to me. So that's my two biggest issues with this backboard. I've considered sending it back. I can very easily just add something to the bottom of the frame to keep it tight on the wall, but you shouldn't have to do that. And even if I do that, we still have the problem of the board turning too easily. So that's mainly, there's not too much to say about a backboard like this. Looks nice, that's great, but functionally it could use some improvements. I actually sent an email to the company, and I hope they take it to heart and maybe come up with something that's a little bit better. I'm going to turn on the light now and focus on the dartboard. So I've owned 3 dartboards. I had 2 Windmill Blade 5s and a Gladiator 3 from 180. And I consider the 180 to be the far superior board. The reason for that is, what's the difference from one dartboard to the next? Really, looks is a very small part of it, which again the Gladiator excelled in, but longevity is the most important part. And I found the Gladiator lasts probably twice as long at least than the Blade. So I had a Blade first, then I had the Gladiator. Like a lot of people, and I seen the Blade for cheap at Costco. I hadn't really planned on buying another Blade, but I got it on the cheap, and once I put it up after my Gladiator was finally worn out after about 2 years of daily practice, nearly, I finally put up the Blade, and within no time it was showing a lot of wear. I was having way more bounce outs. So it came time for another board. I seen this Viper Razorback for $53 Canadian on Amazon. And again, what's the difference from one dartboard to the next? They're all fairly similar. It's a standard thin wire, however you want, whatever you want to call that. You know, sword wire. Every company has a different name for it. Uh, the letters, the Razorback name at top looks kind of nice. That's totally your own discretion. I mean, to me, a dartboard is a dartboard. The big test is longevity, so I can't comment on that too much yet because I've only had the board up for about 6 days, 5 days. So after 5, 6 days of playing, you can see the triple 20 here in the 20 area in general, showing some size coming out. Not too bad though, and most of the other numbers haven't seen a whole lot of use. I've just played a few matches online on Dart Connect and some regular practice. Not too many holes in the bullseye there. So far I would say it's good. I haven't had hardly any bounce outs, which in itself is an improvement over my blade. But as time goes on, who's to say? It's bounce outs are a funny thing. You see, you know, people like Michael Smith and Gerwin Price complaining about the unicorn boards on TV. I mean, it can happen to anybody. Some people, I think it's mainly just bad luck. But at the same time, like I said, I found a lot fewer bounce outs with the Gladiator compared to the Blade 5. The one thing about the Gladiator I will say is that it was a lot more stiff. It actually led to me beginning to scuff my points, which is good practice anyways. But I never had to do that before. But with the Gladiator, it was so stiff, I had to begin to scuff my points for the darts to stay in more reliably, which that probably owes to its longer longevity overall. One thing I'd like to see companies start to do is update the old numbering, because the old bent metal numbers really looks dated. Of course, Unicorn has the plastic ones, but well, plastic is not great. I ordered a set of the replacement numbers, and I pulled all the old numbers out of an old wire ring and tried that for a while. But if you have a straight dart and you hit a plastic number, it's going to break every time. So maybe not every time. Sometimes you'll get lucky, but it's not ideal. I almost purchased. I was about to purchase an Eclipse Pro 2 because I thought that the number ring that came on those was all metal numbers, but it turns out those are plastic too. So I canceled that as it wasn't worth paying. I think $109 Canadian was the price on Amazon. This will be mainly geared at people in the West like myself, North American people, because of course we all love Darts Corner, but shipping things like dartboards and heavy things is prohibitively expensive. Although Darts Corner has begun to carry some Viper products, namely cases, I've noticed. I don't know if they'll expand into darts and dartboards, so maybe these kind of products will eventually find their way into Darts Corner and reach a wider audience. But for us in the West, it's difficult to find anything other than the blade. I bought my 180 Gladiator from Smurf Darts in Ontario, but I'm in on the East Coast and shipping can be a concern sometimes again, so that's why I bought the last Blade 5. But I think whatever it costs, I'm going to go back to, depending on my experience with this board after I've had it for 6 months or a year, I'm probably going to, whatever it costs, go back to the Gladiator. That's how good I feel about it. One thing I notice is that when I have the Corona light turned on, I'll just try a less struck number. Sometimes I can see dust flying off in the light when I hit the board. Can't really notice it right now. I don't recall ever seeing that with any of the other boards I've owned. I don't know exactly if that means there's something different about how it's produced. If it's just, maybe it's just too dusty in my house, I don't know, but yeah, you can't really notice it right now. But at first I did notice that for sure. One thing about this board as well, it was a good price on sale. It was only $53. It came with a lot of gear. Well, I guess relatively. It came with an Aki tape, which my dog quickly chewed to pieces. Luckily I have 2 more. It comes with a standard set of 3 rubber feet, but it also uses, as opposed to the Winmau Rotolock, it has these much bigger feet or wheels, whatever you'd like to call them. They stick off from the board, visible from the Aki, so some people might consider that to be an eyesore. I don't find it too bad. I don't care, but again, it's everybody has their preference, so that's something to consider. But it was nice that they threw in the Aki tape as well, because every little bonus you can get is nice. And again, the board only costs $53, so if I only get 6 months out of it, I'd be disappointed. But after a week, nearly a week, and not turning it, I think that little bit of sizzle is showing is acceptable. But I'll probably come back and provide an update after I've had it for longer.